Hello my friends, this is the third video in a series of videos on 43 vibration and cult leaders. The original study was of 4 cult leaders that I have AA data for, and in studying their lives and the cults that they ran, I found out that one of the cult leaders, Marshall Applewhite, had a partner. His partner was Bonnie Nettles. So she's like his right-hand man, or maybe she's a right-hand woman. She's his ally, his support, right there with him, leading the movement. I'll read from Wikipedia about Bonnie. Many events passed in the creation of the Heaven's Gate group. Heaven's Gate is the name of this organization or cult, we can call it. Nettles continued to act as the interpreter of signs and the mystic of the group. So that's her job. She's the interpreter of signs and the mystic. She's the one with this, you might say, psychic or spiritual connection to give direction to the whole group. So Marshall Applewhite is kind of like King Arthur at the Round Table. Excuse me. He's directing, guiding this mission. He's the leader. And King Arthur has Merlin, the wise man, the sage, the diviner, the one who can see into the laws, rules, the momentums that God has put in motion. So these are the roles that they're playing. These are the characters that they are in this whole drama. So she becomes ill. In 1983, she had to have an eye removed due to cancer. Okay, so she gets cancer. Her doctor informed her that the disease was already spreading throughout the rest of her body. Nettles stated that the doctor was ignorant and believed, along with Applewhite, that she could not die, as they had to ascend together. Okay, so she's got this vision, spiritual perception, and the sense of transcending is the word I'm looking for. Transcending the material world, her body cannot die. Of course, this proves to be not true, and she does die. So this sounds to me like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So I'm going to be looking at what Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, definitely Uranus, Neptune. Uranus, Neptune is what gives this vision, inspiration. Saturn spins it out of the normal context, opens doors, etc. One of the big problems with Saturn, Uranus, Neptune is fantasy, hallucinations, you could call them. People mistaking a mythic or symbolic truth for a literal truth, which is what's happening here. There is a sense in which we are divine, eternal beings, and it becomes twisted around in strange, chaotic ways in her mind. So this, when it becomes very personal, it's very often a 13 vibe. So I'm getting the feeling of either 13 or again 43 going on with her. And it could be a 13 times 13, because that would make it very intellectualized, very emotional, very much at the level of the like the synapses firing, like at a very granular level of the way she's functioning. So I'm going to be looking at Saturn, Uranus, Neptune to understand what's going on. Definitely Uranus, Neptune, probably with Saturn. The cancer continued to worsen, moving to her liver. Nettles died on June 19, 1985 at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas. Applewhite convinced the rest of the group that Nettles' broken down vehicle was left behind. Applewhite explained to the group that Nettles had left because her work was done on this level, but he himself still had more work to do. And Applewhite also said that Nettles would continue to help from the next level. Okay, so what they thought was obviously not true, but he rationalizes it in this other way. This is really way out Saturn, Uranus, Neptune type stuff. Definitely Uranus, Neptune. Nettles agreed to perform an astrological reading for Applewhite. So she's an astrologer. She reads the signs of God in different ways, and one of them is as an astrologer. They had an almost instantaneous spiritual connection, and I put this in bold, Applewhite decided that Nettles was to be the sage, he the speaker. So again, she's the sage, she's the Merlin, he's the speaker, he's the one who presents it to the public, he's the one who runs the organization, he's like the prime minister or king of this operation. She's Merlin, informing the king of what God's intentions are, and she has this door to unlock some of the mysteries of life. Of course, everybody has that. Applewhite has that, but she has the gift, you might say. This is their way of understanding it. This gift to me sounds like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They left together on New Year's Day of 1973. Nettles' 3 youngest children were left to remain with their father, while her oldest daughter, Terry, then aged 20 and skeptical of her mother's ideas, fended for herself. So she leaves her kids. Leaves her kids with her, with their father, and goes off with Applewhite on this spiritual quest. Nettles and Applewhite established Heaven's Gate together as equals, with Nettles running the group and Applewhite speaking for her. Nettles running the group. So Nettles is she's the channel. She's the divine vehicle who gets the information. She channels it, gives it to Applewhite. He presents it, directs, and guides the mission. Nettles claimed to have communicated with aliens about the next level, and she told Applewhite to tell their followers. In 1976, Applewhite recognized Nettles as higher up on the level of command than he was. Okay, but he's in the thick, running things more directly. So it appears that unlike Jim Jones, Charles Manson, and the others, Nettles was not inclined to be this, well, he ended up anyway, not to be more like a solo cult leader. It's a partnership with this channel of divine insight, bringing that to Applewhite. So Applewhite is like King Arthur at the Round Table. Nettles is like Merlin, who can divine wisdom directly from the source. The cult leaders, perhaps unlike King Arthur, are divinely inspired and larger than life. Okay, so the analogy to King Arthur, let's not take these analogies too strictly with every little detail. King Arthur is probably not as divinely inspired as Applewhite is, or as he thinks he is, obviously. So the others, like Charles Manson, they do not have a Merlin to advise them. A Merlin's not necessary, but Merlin brings a special gift to help and sometimes even direct the leader to make the correct decisions. So Applewhite has his Merlin in the form of Bonnie Nettles. Also note that in medieval Indian and other cultures, diviners or astrologers had something special that is greater than the advice of experts and scientists today. So this idea of a Merlin, an astrologer who can see into the secrets of life, is not a completely new idea. So these diviners and astrologers have a way to read into the heart of things. It's like an X-ray machine into the pulse of life. And this is the role played by Bonnie Nettles. So the leader is essential. There's no cult without a leader. The leader is wise, profound. He's also in communication with the divine and with others in education. He probably travels, meets with other dignitaries. He's like King Arthur at the Round Table. And the optional character for some of these charismatic movements is the gifted individual who brings special insight, the Merlin who provides a competitive advantage over other movements, which is what Applewhite has in Bonnie Nettles. A third possible character is a commander-in-chief. This is the person who helps carry out and enforce the principles established by the leadership. So what we often have is the leader, that's our, quote, King Arthur position, so that would be these 4 cult leaders with the 43 or 43 times 43 vibe. And then we have optionally a Merlin. And what we're going to find out with Bonnie Nettles is it's not 43, it's going to be 13. I think it's 13 times 13. Oh, it's both, 13 and 13 times 13. So this is how it works for Bonnie Nettles. If you have 43 vibration, there's a very good chance that you have charismatic leadership ability. People will follow you and you can form a group. If it's 13 vibration, it's more of an individual power. You can still have some leadership, but not the kind of organizational capability that 43 has. So the Merlin will have a Uranus and Neptune if it's a visionary or psychic, which is the case here. A visionary type of a advisor. The Merlin type has a Uranus Neptune. The other planets, depending on the kind of vision or psychic ability or channeling that this Merlin supposedly has. In this case, it's pretty wild and talking to aliens and stuff. It feels like a Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Definitely Uranus and Neptune. And the commander-in-chief has usually a 37 vibe. They're directing, executing, getting it done. You can't have the spiritual leader also manage and take care of, get people up in the morning and, get the kitchen working and the people's jobs and all that stuff is often handled by an executive person. That person often has 37 vibe. Now these ideas are not validated in databases completely clearly. We have research on 37 vibe, on 13 vibe, 43 vibe. We see how they've worked in different ways. And I'm putting all that together here in this way. It makes sense of all the data we have, including the information on Bonnie Nettles, which I will share with you right now. Excuse me. So inspiration is Uranus, Neptune. Some astrologers say Neptune by itself does not do it. It's Uranus, Neptune. And we're expecting high overtones of 13, possibly 169 involved, and a good chance of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune inclines to, as they say in Star Wars, a disturbance in the force. It can lead to a hallucinatory imagination. If there are insufficient critical thinking skills, which is often the case with Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or vanity or trauma or other triggers of mental instability, it can incline the person to take their inspirations very literally, which is what Bonnie Nettles did. Like, my body can't die, it's impossible. The doctor doesn't know what he's talking about because she has this sense of immortality, but it becomes misplaced. This is a huge problem in astrology, by the way, is we are inspired, we see the symbolism work, and often we take it too literally, and Bonnie Nettles is the extreme case of this, kind of a warning sign to be careful and to have critical thinking skills as well as vision and inspiration. They help protect each other, you might say. And unprotected, letting that Saturn or Neptune go wild is what happened with Bonnie Nettles. And there was a mass suicide. I mean, this is insane. This is very, very destructive behavior that came out of these activities of Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite. So here is Bonnie Nettles' 169 vibe chart. It does not look very impressive with the aspects. The only thing really notable for me is the Saturn trine Neptune with a very small orb. Let's see, it's a 17-minute orb. So it's a very tight aspect. Uranus is not involved. Uranus Neptune is what we're looking for. So we're not seeing it. Now, we're also expecting overtones of this. If we triple this vibration, if we do 169 times 3, it's going to turn trines into conjunctions. So Saturn and Neptune will become conjunct. If you happen to have a 40 degree or other 9 vibe aspect, it'll go down by 3, it'll become a trine. Well, it's probably not obvious, but Uranus is about 80 degrees from Saturn and 40 from Neptune. So Uranus looks like it, could get involved when we triple the vibration and we do 169 times 3, and if we do times 9, Uranus might come into being conjunction with Saturn, Neptune. It might be way out of orb. Let's see what happens. This is the 169 times 9. And oh my God, those orbs were small. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are within 4 degrees. That's really tight in the 169 times 9. Wow. This looks like Bonnie Nettles, because she was a nurse, by the way, before she became part of the Seventh Gate movement, and she's into this, spiritual reading and healing. 9 is the vibration of healing. This really looks like Bonnie Nettles. There's one problem. It's only 3 planets. This is Bonnie Nettles. This is a person who's extreme, really extreme to the max. That requires more than 3 planets. It requires 4 planets. There are only 3. It looks like Venus is making a quincunx to one of them. We don't have 4 planets. Now, what we can do, since the time is on the hour, we can move about 10 to 12 minutes before and after and see if another planet gets involved. If no planet gets involved within 10 to 12, 13 minutes of 6 p.m., either before or after, I would say this is very weak. In vibrational astrology, we have strict criteria. To be really overwhelmingly powerful with an aspect configuration, you need 4 planets. 4 is what puts it over the top. 3 makes a strong theme, but this is Bonnie Nettles. This is her life. This is her, she's not going to die even though she has cancer. She's leading these people on this wild, insane, delusional journey. Yes, that's Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Yes, in a 169 times 9 makes perfect sense. But our criteria are very strict. 3 planets is not enough to make you go to that wild of an extreme. Fanatic like that, it would take 4 planets. So, here we have a chart on the left, which is 6 minutes after. Her birth certificate is 6 p.m. This is for 6:06 p.m. 6 minutes after, Mars moves into a trine, and the trine is within orb to all 3 planets. Oh, if she was born at 6:06, she would have the configuration we're looking for, and Mars would be the perfect planet of this is what I want to do, this is what I need to get done. I need to make this radical transformation, this radical visionary quest into some paradise of ultimate healing and eternity. This sounds like her. Adding Mars completes the picture. Now, at 9 minutes after the hour, I'll just make sure I got this right. So yes, from 6:06 to 6:09, so that's about 4 minutes over those 4, well, if you count them all, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 minutes, Mars is in strong aspect. All 3 lines are thick. If you want to include thin lines, it starts from about 6:04 and ends at 6:10. That's right in the range of what our current theory tells us is the maximum, most powerful aspects are those that last only 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. That's exactly what Mars does. So our theory is that the shorter that the aspect lasts, then you share it with fewer people. You have to be born within 5 or 10 minutes of the same moment as Bonnie Nettles to have this configuration. If you're born 20 minutes later, you don't have it. It's very specifically you, not part of your collective personality that you share with other people. This defines you. So if she was born, especially between about 6:06 and 6:09, but definitely between 6:04 and 6:10, Mars is involved, and that's certainly reasonable. Could she have been born at 6:04 or 6:05, which would bring Mars into orb of aspecting all three? At 6:04, it's weak to one and stronger to the other two. It's still very, very strong. Definitely. These round number times, we know that a large number of them were not on the hour because there's way, way, way too many people born on the hour. Obviously, it's been rounded off. So we are coming up with an idea that theoretically fits our very strict requirements for what's going on. If we guess that she was actually born a little bit later, then she has the exact pattern describing exactly her function as Merlin. So we have to take our cult leadership formula, our astro signature, add another rule for those people who are not so much the director, leader, total guide, and voice, as Marshall Applewhite said. He is the voice or speaker of the movement, but who is that secret channel, that direct connection, that gift? That's in the 169 vibe with Uranus Neptune. Bonnie Nettles has it exact. With the 9 vibe, it's looking for an ultimate oneness and peace, and they are going to heaven. It's heaven's gate. This is the gate to the heaven worlds, to the 9 vibration worlds, transcending through the 13 times 13. With her Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, wild, crazy, and delusional visions. So there we see the story very clearly. But again, we're having to expand our model to include these things. But we're making a coherent model that has a consistent theme. Everything is 13. Everything is 13. The cult leaders are they're 13 or 43. They're 43. 43 has a strong 13 quality to it. So it's all 43 or 13 for the direct channeling emphasis. Bodies Uranus and Neptune, they're in 13 times 9 vibe. They're in 117 vibe. Here's her 117 vibe chart. And there's the Uranus and Neptune conjunct with a 6-minute orb. When you have these tiny orbs, it means you're likely to have many overtones. And look at all the aspects to the Uranus-Neptune. All these hard aspects. Pluto's semi-square. It looks like Mercury and Ceres sesquiquadrat. Venus's opposition. This is Bonnie Nettles. 13 times 9. The special gift of spiritual healing. Healing, 9. Wholeness, togetherness, oneness. Uranus-Neptune, the vision. So this is what's going on. When we take the overtone of 13 times 9, Saturn gets involved. So what's happening? Let me say this again. Uranus and Neptune have a 6-minute orb. With that tiny orb, you can multiply 117 by all kinds of numbers, and Uranus and Neptune are going to stay conjunct because they have only a 6-minute orb. And another planet may come and aspect them. So this 13 times 9 vibe of the Uranus and Neptune inclines a person to be a spiritual healer. Interestingly, she was a nurse. So her whole life is involved related to healing. I'm going to guess that as a nurse, she witnessed the healing of patients from prayer or touch. So she probably experiences this would form a foundation for her later work in Heaven's Gate. Unfortunately, she used this gift of a vision of ultimate peace and healing in very destructive ways, claiming that it is impossible for her body to die, etc. So this is a problem with Uranus-Neptune. It it becomes so absorbed in its visions and its dreams that it can interpret them quite literally, and she thinks that her body won't die. Critical thinking skills is incredibly important to prevent the person from essentially becoming delusional. Now, this is her 936 vibration. This is 13 times 9 times 8. Let me confirm that. If I go into the calculator and I type in, let me drag this over here, 13 times 9 times 8, 936. 9 times 8 is 72. So another way of saying it is that this is the 13 times 72. It's a higher octave of the 13 times 9. And when we get to this higher octave of 13 times 9, Uranus and Neptune are still conjunct because they have only a 6-minute orb in the 13 times 9 vibe. And two other planets connect, which is Mercury and Pluto. They're all within 10 degrees. And there's that series again. Series showing up over and over and over again in these charts. The 4-planet conjunction, that's what we're looking for. That's what sends things over the top. And she has, in the 13 times 9 times 8, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. This is very inclined to technologies, information, because you have Mercury there, thinking, connecting, Pluto getting compulsive about it. So the person's getting into systems, understanding, methods to bring about the healing. Okay. So what I have here in the notes is I put 13 times 9 in red and the various overtones, 13 times 9 times 8 and 13 times 9 times 13. Okay, the 13 times 9 times 13, let's put that into the calculator. 13 times 9 times 13, that's the 1,521. The 1521 vibration is very, very important for Bonnie Nettles. Okay, so what we have is, here's the 1521 vibration, which is the one that has the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and she's born 5 to 10 minutes after 6 o'clock, Mars trining it. And I think that's a key part. If we got some information on her exact time of birth, and it was not 5 to 10 minutes after 6 p.m., that would seriously weaken our whole model. Because then we would only have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. We wouldn't have the 4th planet. 4th planet is key to driving this to an extreme level. So our model is working well. It would be nice if we could find out for sure exactly when she was born. And if it's between 4 and 10 minutes after 6 p.m., that will strengthen our model. If it's any other time, it will weaken our model. Okay, so we have our astro signature. There's a summary of it. To be a cult leader, this is one way of expressing it. You have conjunctions, squares, or trines between Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. This is in 43 or 43 times 43 vibe. And also the planets Mars, Ceres, Neptune, and Pluto can be in these aspects. They are not quite as powerful as the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn. We say that because Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn showed up in all 4 of the cult leaders, and Mars, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto only occurred in some of them. And instead of aspects, it could be a golden mean supersymmetry pattern. That's a supersymmetry pattern where the planets are in golden mean aspects at the same time. It's a very unusual configuration because it has to be a symmetrical golden mean aspects and reinforcing each other to make a supersymmetry pattern. very specific and doesn't occur very often. And for the function to be the Merlin, the wizard, you have high overtones of 13 with at least one other planet. Soft overtones inclined to interest and involvement in healing and therapy. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, in any vibe, inclined to be visionary or hallucinatory, and needs critical thinking skills to distinguish between what is symbolic or energetic versus what is an actual physical phenomenon. And a lesson for us astrologers: trusting in personal insight, no matter how obvious it appears to be, without using whatever analytical tools are available to confirm the insights, is very dangerous. Hopefully we all get a lesson from Bonnie Nettles that it's very dangerous to just trust in your intuition, in your perception, and have such great faith in it to the point where you deny evidence from careful observation. So she just says the doctors don't know what they're talking about. Well, of course she does die, and the doctors are correct, which isn't rocket science, as the saying goes. But she is now, at this point, totally delusional. Evidence using modern research methods does not conflict with intuition. It does not kill the soul of astrology. If something is true, it's true. That's all. Different perspectives give us a way to confirm what is true. So we're getting this lesson from Bonnie Nettles about not going off on wild visionary intuitions and perceptions without also grounding them in careful observations. Evidence-based astrology, such as is done by the Cosmobiology Institute, are vitally important. Listen to this. Documentaries of the 39 Heaven's Gate members who killed themselves in a mass suicide. 39 people all killed themselves at the same time. Were these people in mental institutions? Were they highly dysfunctional? No. Most of them were highly intelligent people who lived healthy lives prior to being involved in the cult. It's scary. In the documentaries, the family members are shocked that these highly productive, creative, intelligent people go way off the deep end. It is very easy to misunderstand things if we do not invite people with expertise and dedication to do careful data analysis to give insight into what's going on. Okay. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention. I'm going to leave it for the fourth and last video, which is the compatibility. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles are partners. If her 13 times 13 vibration chart, if these charts are so important, they should be connecting with Marshall Applewhite. In the fourth and last video in this series, I'm going to show you how they connect. It's stunning, it's amazing, and it further strengthens our confidence in the model that we confirm it with the compatibility. Okay, so I'll see you in the fourth and last video in this series on the compatibility between Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles with these configurations we just talked about. Okay, thank you very much, my friends. God bless. Namaste.